Hello, everybody, and welcome to the weekly Oracle Wisdom. For those of you joining me for the first time, my name is Natalie Sadie. We are going to pull some Oracle cards and have a look at the energies for the week ahead. My apologies. I had YouTube just sort of catching up with me in the background. So we are going to get started with the Ascending Life Oracle, one of my favorite MahrukhX decks that I own. And I've looked at the other two decks that I have pulled out, and the Angels and Ancestors Oracle I have here, and Guiding Angel Oracle. So apparently the angels are wanting to say something. And so I was listening to their message and that they wanted to come out and say something. Okay. I hope everybody had a wonderful weekend and a wonderful Mother's Day. Whether you are a mother, I hope you were celebrated. And if you're not, I hope you were celebrating your mum or somebody who is like a mum to you. Okay. So the first card out is secrets, moving in silence, hidden factors, lack of communication, not having all the facts. So today we have the Scorpio full moon, and I always associate Scorpio with secrets and things not necessarily being discussed. So that could be why this is coming out. The fact that there are hidden factors, the fact that there is or feels like there is a lack of communication. And maybe it's a matter of you not having all the facts and needing to have that conversation. So it may be a matter of you needing to start that conversation with the person that you feel isn't being completely honest, or is it you that is holding back and not saying the things that you need to say to express how you're feeling to make a situation really clear? Let's just pull a couple more and see what direction we're going in. Unfinished, leaving things unfinished, tying up loose ends, things left unresolved, see things through. So I feel like whatever is being held back is what is keeping this sort of piece of the puzzle from being put into place. And this is why communication is one of my big things in all my relationships, friendship, business, romantic, all of that. You want to be in a relationship with me, you need to be honest, you need to be speaking to me, and you need to be keeping me abreast of what's going on. So when things are unfinished and when you're not talking, it's impossible to get things exactly where they need to be. It's impossible to get resolution if people don't fully understand the scope of what's going on, whether it be the scope of your feelings in the matter, whether it's there's information that's being held back, which affects how they move forward. So just keep that in mind. And if you're the one that is on the other side of it and needing the information, you need to express the fact that you need that information to be able to move forward. Next card out is the hidden. Okay, so this is all about things not being out in the open. There's a very, very clear theme to what's going on here. The hidden enemies and jealousy, hiding true intentions, being two-faced, time to work in silence. So we need to bring whatever is being hidden out to the light this week. I think, secrets, unfinished, the hidden. There's a very, 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 very clear theme. I've said many times that we shouldn't be telling our business to the world in terms of telling everybody what our next move is, unless we're ready for it to be public, because not everybody in our life will support us. And I've told stories about different things where people that I thought were my best friends and would be my biggest supporters have just turned out not to be that person and not to be the person that I thought that they were. And so that was what taught me to just sort of reserve that information until absolutely necessary when I'm moving forward with something that is a big deal and that I know is important to me. So if there is something that you can move forward with and you're not sure how receptive people will be, do work in silence. But I, for me, when there's things that are being kept secret, when there are things that need to be finished, but I need information, I push for that, sometimes probably a little too hard. But I think that if there is information that you're lacking, you need to push for that to be discussed and for that to come through. The next card out is delays. Frustrated by slow results. Any pace is a good pace. Patience and perseverance. You can't rush the process. So, as one of the most impatient people that is on the face of this earth, I understand the frustration part of this. I just want to move. I want to move at my speed. I want to move reasonably quickly. And that's not always possible. So, just know that if you are delayed, especially if it's in relation to this information that you don't have yet, understand that the delays are happening for a reason because you need all the information in order to progress and to move forward. And often that's a universe protecting you from leaping into something or moving forward before you're ready and prepared for what's coming. And the other thing is, if it is moving at a snail's pace, again, it's happening for a reason. And I mean, that's one of the things that frustrates me so incredibly much. But the universe has looked after me many, many times by moving at that speed. So just be prepared. It's a week of things not moving at the pace that you want, but trust that it's happening for a reason. Higher power, choosing your highest good, aligning with your higher self, connected to spirit on the path of the divine. So all of these delays and what is happening because you're on the right path and it is the universe protecting you. I mean, the fact that that's what I was just saying and then this card comes out, it really is confirmation. So we need to take a breath this week. Sorry, I don't know why I have a frog in my throat. We need to take a breath. We need to just breathe and understand that this is the universe's plan. It's not ours. We can make all the plans we want. It doesn't mean that that is how things are going to unfold. So, okay, this one's coming out. So you just have to trust it and take the pause as a moment to stop and reflect and connect with spirit, tune in. I mean, full moon in Scorpio, the veil gets really thin, the messages become clearer and louder. And if you've been working on developing your gifts and your senses and all of that, this is a perfect time to stop and go, okay, why is this happening? What are you telling me? So take that time, take advantage of it, because when things pick up and when things get busy, that's when it's very easy for the noise and everything else to kind of disappear behind us. Leadership, high influence in business, stepping into a leadership role, know your value and self-worth, using logic over emotion. So using logic over emotion, this is where you have to tap into what you know to be true, knowing that the universe is protecting you and guiding you, and it's all happening in the universe's timing, and there is a reason for that. Working that way as opposed to sitting in the frustration and trying to push things through that way, that's what's going to get you in trouble. So this is where you really need to dial in. And stepping into a leadership role, this could be a leadership role within your community in terms of guiding other people, especially if you're a light worker, in terms of spirituality and helping them that way. And it could also be in business. So you're stepping up and you're leveling up, and you have been for the last few months in a number of different ways. But it's time for you to, I was going to say take the throne, but that's not right. But it's time for you to step into that role and really embrace it and start moving forward and trusting the position that you have been put in and entrusted with, because it's time. So the final card from the Ascending Life Oracle is deep thinking, thinking twice on a decision, preoccupied with one's thoughts, self-reflection, being analytical and logical. So if we know that there are secrets and there are things that are being held back from us, we start to spiral in our own minds and we start to think obsessively over all of this. This is why, for me, it's so important to have those conversations with people and say, hey, I know something is off. I know I'm missing a piece and I need you to talk to me and tell me what it is, or at least give me clarity around this issue. The other thing is you could be lost in thought, because if you are the one that is withholding information, it becomes a question about how to share the news, if you should, how will it be received? And again, that becomes a different spiral where we start having conversations in our own heads and we start answering for these other people. And that's not necessarily how people are going to respond, but we put this on them and then it becomes a bigger issue in our head. So just know that if you're stuck in that spiral of thought, maybe what you need to do is have the conversation. And it may be the deep thinking is you using your logic over emotion and tapping into the gifts that you have and understanding what the universe is doing and why it's doing it, and that the timing is happening for a reason. And really grasping your understanding of that whole part of our lives, in terms of that there is this other side where we are connected to the universe, we are connected to the divine, we are moving forward, and we are these spirits having a human experience. And so that could be the other place where you're really sitting in deep reflection, which is a wonderful space to be, because it will just grow your connection. It will grow your connection with the divine. So the last thing that I'll say is, with the whole leadership, the fact that these came up together, leadership and deep thinking, stepping into a leadership role, if you're thinking twice about that, that's fine. But if that's where you're meant to be and you're thinking twice because you're scared of stepping up, it's time to trust yourself. All right, we are going to move on to the Guiding Angels Oracle. This is another MahrukhX deck. I've used it for the last couple of weeks. Joyful times. A celebration is coming up. A wedding, a proposal, a birthday, or an achievement will be a wonderful time in your life. So for me, this is about stepping into the leadership role. It's going to be a good thing for you. The fact that we were just talking about this deep thinking and maybe second guessing this role that you're sort of stepping into, whether it be an official space or it's just sort of one of those roles that you accidentally find yourself in, it's all for the greater good of you and the people around you. So just trust that it is going to be a celebration. The other side of that is, if you do have a birthday or a wonderful thing to celebrate coming up, congratulations. And I hope that the celebration is phenomenal. Ghosts of the past. Let go of the ghosts that haunt you and stop obsessing about what you don't have. Remember, closure comes from inside you. How many of us have spent so much time saying that we need closure on an issue? And I am so guilty of this. The irony is, there have been people in my life that I have needed closure from and never gotten it. And whenever I've hit a point where I have finally been okay with how things unfolded for whatever reason, it's after that that I end up getting the actual closure that I craved for so long. And that's because the universe has recognized that I have hit that point where I am okay and I have accepted closure as it is. And then they've gone, okay, you can have this. And you know what? As great as it was, I didn't need it because that had happened within me. We've just come out of some pretty big retrogrades and we're almost out of shadow with Venus, which did retrograde. Was that in February? February through March. That one was rough for me. The pre-shadow period of that was super rough. Man, I went through it. I was texting with somebody earlier today, and when the retrograde finally hit, I was good at that point. I had worked through all the things and I was in a really good space. And then everybody around me started falling apart while they had been put together sort of during it. But we're coming out of the shadow period, and that Venus retrograde will finally be behind us. But it is possible that with all of this stuff going on, you've had people coming out of the woodwork, and or maybe you've been waiting or hoping that that was the time period where people would come out of the woodwork. And the reality is you have to create the closure for yourself. You have to come to terms with things. And I often talk about forgiveness not being about for the other person. Forgiveness is something that you do for yourself. It happens within, and it happens for you. People always think, well, they don't deserve forgiveness. You know what? It's not about them. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of what has been going on. And I think that that is a huge part of closure for all of us. It's forgiving the situation that has happened. It's forgiving the other person and maybe trying to see things from their point of view. And it's forgiving ourselves for how things played out. Maybe we wish we could have said things differently. Maybe we wish we could have said something completely different in that moment. Maybe there's a million things we wish we could have done differently. And so we have to forgive ourselves for that not playing out that way. But hindsight is an incredible gift. But it's time for us to let go and focus on the future and understand that there are even better things waiting for us, but we can't have them until we let go of what is in our past and what it is we're wishing for. If you're forever pining for an ex, you're never going to find anybody else, better, worse, or anything like that, anything in between, because we're still pining for somebody that isn't in our lives anymore. The moment you let that go, somebody else steps up, and it will be incredible and probably better. And you'll spend your days thinking, wow, I wonder if this would have happened sooner had I let go of the past a little bit faster. So just keep that in mind if you're struggling with that closure. Next card out is Embrace the Dark. Allow yourself to feel and be present to hold and nurture those dark, unlit parts of yourself, and your life will begin to expand because of it. The shadow. I've been having very deep discussions with a few people recently about light workers and the generations, how the generations are different. And there is actually going to be a Gemini Rising episode on this. It's a matter of scheduling at this point. But in most episodes that Anne and I do, we end up talking to people about their childhood and asking how they got into the work that they're doing. Not all, but majority of people, especially the people that seem to be more influential, if we were looking at it on a scale of what their audience is or was, those people often have had a rougher time in their younger years. They've had to overcome some pretty big obstacles, and then they find their way onto their path. It's like it was destined, but in order to get there, they had to sort of go through this dark world to get to that point. And knowing people that work with a lot of young light workers and watching their growth is actually a completely different thing to anything that our generation kind of experienced. And so we're going to have a conversation about this next generation of light workers, because this next generation is growing up in a way where they're not having to go through the battles, the very human battles that we are or that we did, and then having to find their way to the path. They're growing into, or they're coming into a world where they are loved and nurtured and guided, so that by the time they hit, adulthood, they are going to be ready to just run and do the work that they came here to do. And I keep thinking about how much more they will be able to achieve than we ever will or have, because of the foundation that they've been given. But the reality is we wouldn't be where we are, and this generation wouldn't be coming through if the people that came before them hadn't embraced the dark, hadn't embraced the shadows. And embracing those dark unlit parts of yourselves is essentially doing the shadow work. And I talk about it ad nauseum, and I get it. People probably get frustrated by it, but it's the only way to truly grow and evolve as a spirit. We all have these parts to ourselves, and it's so incredibly uncomfortable to go to and go through, but it's the thing that will shift you the most. And it's also the part of you that makes you who you are as much as the parts that are lit up. So make sure you embrace that part. Don't be ashamed of it. And Scorpio full moon, perfect time to go to the dark side. You've got to remember that Pluto rules Scorpio. Pluto is the ruler of the underworld. This is where we go when it's Scorpio season. The next card out is Dance with Fire. Do more of what makes you happy and feel the power that comes from focusing on what excites you and lights your soul on fire. I love the photograph on this card. I love the fire. It feels very Aries and very Mars to me. I love the wings, and that the fact that the wings are wings of fire. This is why people talk about gratitude journals. Focus on gratitude, and it shifts everything. And it legitimately does. It shifts the energy that we're existing in. It shifts the energy that we're putting out to the world. And when you're grateful, more great things come back to you. So it's the same when you focus on the things that fill your heart with joy and excitement. And this is what it is time to focus on. And especially if you've been doing some shadow work, it can, man, that's heavy, heavy, heavy work. And it really is. And so if you are going there and you're feeling a little heavy when you come out of it, when you're done, don't get angry or frustrated with yourself. Just then go, okay, I've done what I needed to do. I need to do something to lift my energy back up. For me, it's going roller skating. It's going to a dance class. On the days where I don't want to dance, those are the days where I go, you have to go today of all days. Because going in there, and as soon as I'm in warm up, even if it feels torturous, I feel so much better. And to be surrounded by the energy of these other women who all love to dance as well, it shifts everything. So whatever that is for you, if it's riding a bike, if it's curling up and watching a really funny movie, maybe it's a horror movie, I don't know. But do that. Do that and bring that joy into your life, especially in a week where we're possibly going to be frustrated because of this, waiting for this information. We're dealing with delays. We've got this full-on Scorpio full moon. And especially if we're trying to figure out closure and embracing sort of our shadow self and really trying to work on forgiveness, it's time, it's time to do the things that are going to fill you up so that you can shift that energy. So the final card from this deck is Spirit Contact. Answer the call of your ancestors and connect with their wisdom and receive support. I think this card came out last week. Like I said, Scorpio full moon, the veil is thin, the connection is there. And I know anyone that's watching this is a light worker and has that ability to connect with spirit. So take advantage of it and just know that they are guiding you and they are on your side for all of this. We are going to finish up with the Angels and Ancestors Oracle cards. I'm just going to pull one or two cards from this deck. This is the Kyle Gray deck. I love this deck. I think I say this about a number of his decks, but this is one of my favorites of his. How could it not be? There's ours on the back of the cards. Okay. First card out is Mountain. Stand your ground. So while you're searching for this information and you're trying to figure out what to do next and you're trying to get that final puzzle piece, stand your ground. If you know something is off, if you know there is missing information, just don't let somebody talk you out of it or convince you that it's wrong. When you know, right? It's like women when they know that their partner is cheating and they lie and they lie and they lie, and you're just like, I'm not crazy. And they'll gaslight you and say all sorts of things. I had an ex of mine who he was one of the great loves of my life, and he will be until the day I die. And we thankfully still have a friendship to this day, but I knew he had cheated on me. And he told me for years I was crazy, for years and years and years. And we had dinner one night last year. He was in LA and we were having dinner, and he sat across the table from me and admitted to everything that I always knew was true. And I will say it felt like a punch in the guts hearing it. At the same time, I felt vindicated in what I had always known. And I was glad that I held true to what I believed to be true. Hearing it wasn't fun. But I think in his mind, he'd already told me or admitted it or something. And then I was like, yeah, you've been lying to me about this for years. Like, I don't even know how many years at that point. So stand your ground, because your intuition is rarely, rarely wrong. The next card out is Elder, healing through the lineage. So connecting to your shadow and dealing with what is there. With the healing work that I have done in the last 5, 6 months, I've learned a lot about epigenetics and how much we inherit from our ancestors. And it's a lot. It's a lot that we pass down. And so same thing, if you are a mother or a father, you are passing your epigenetics, your trauma, your stress, and everything like that onto your child. This is just the way this works. And this is why it's so important to heal, because when we do the healing work, that stops. That's when we really become the breaker in the cycle with how this all goes. And we get to change the future for our children. So every bit of healing that you do, no matter how painful it is, no matter how much you don't want to do it, every time you do it, you are literally healing your lineage. You are stopping the cycles of abuse. You are stopping the cycles of sexual trauma. You're stopping so many different cycles that repeat through the generations for all future generations moving forward. And then you're also able to educate the future generations so that they continue to do their own healing work and protect their future generations. So just keep that in mind, especially in a tough week where, I don't think it's necessarily a bad week. I just think it may be a challenging week where we're not necessarily getting everything that we want when we want it. But I think this is the time for us to go within and figure out what it is we need to do, whether it be closure for ourselves, doing the shadow work, connecting with spirit, and really understanding where we're meant to go and taking those messages. So just know that this is the sort of week that it is, as opposed to it just being like one thing after the other, goal, 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 goal. Life can't be like that all the time. I wish it could, but it can't. So we will pull one last card. Knight, be brave and honest. Be brave in what you're going to do moving forward. Be brave as you give yourself closure. Be brave as you embrace your shadow self and do any work there. Be brave if you need to be the one to give information to people so that they can put the puzzle pieces together and move forward. Be brave when it's time for you to step up into that new position of leadership. And be honest. Be honest when people are talking to you. Be honest when people are asking for your advice. Be honest when people are asking you for how you're feeling about everything. And so that everybody can move forward free of the burden of hidden information. I think that's the biggest thing this week, the communication. And in that communication, I think there really needs to be honesty. I hope this resonates with some of you, if not all of you. Anne and I are doing Gemini Rising this week. We're actually doing it on Thursday, which we don't normally do a Thursday, but it's happening this week. We have Alex Skiles, the astrologer, joining us. We are super excited about this episode. So that is happening. I think it's at 6 p.m. Pacific. So we'll be posting the link for all of that in the next couple of days. We'll get the thumbnail up and it'll be sitting there on the YouTube channel so that if you want to register for a reminder that we're starting, you can. I'll be posting about it on YouTube and Facebook. So make sure you're following the Gemini Rising pages. It is the Gemini Rising show across all social media platforms. And of course, I will be at the High Vibe Studio on Friday doing full disclosure with David, and I can't wait. It's Monday and it's already been a huge week. So have a wonderful week, everyone. And thank you all to those of you who are supporting me here